State emergency managers are still on the lookout for surges, but Governor John Kitzhaber says that residents on the coast should be able to return to their homes shortly. A tsunami warning was issued for the West Coast after an 8.9 magnitude earthquake rocked Japan late last night. The quake sent a wave racing across the Pacific. Authorities evacuated coastal communities from Astoria to Brookings. Schools canceled classes, and Oregon communities brace for waves as high as 6 feet. Now we have team coverage of the tsunami threat. KVAL's Kelly Koopmans is in Florence. Kelly, is life starting to get back to normal?
Yeah, thanks, Shelley. Life is actually getting back to normal. Actually, down in Old Town, it's actually opening for business just at this hour, and a lot of people are making their way, coming out for lunch, but still a very big scare for many people here in Florence, and they're not quite out of the woods yet, as you just mentioned. In fact, we went to a Hasita Beach lookout, and we saw some very impressive swells and recession of water. Some people have said they've never seen this type of wave activity down in that area. Still, these waves, they're not doing any damage, and in fact, this entire day has been called a success. This dry run of an emergency system here in Florence is being seen as they've really managed to escape something here, and showing that their emergency system here worked today in this case.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Kelly, and we know that we'll hear more from you tonight on KVAL News at 5 and 6. Now, KVAL's Beth Ford was in Florence as the siren sounded last night. Beth, what was that scene like?
Hi, Shelley. The scene really changed as the night and morning wore on. We pulled into Florence just before 3 this morning. As we drove around Florence, we saw caravans of cars getting together to drive out of town. Then the emergency management messages went out to about 700 people living in the inundation zone, or the area with the greatest threat from a potential tsunami. The messages urged those people to evacuate. Cars lined up, waiting up to an hour at the only gas station open in Florence at 4 a.m. Multiple weather officials estimated tsunami waves would hit the Oregon coast after 7 this morning. So we drove up US 101 along with plenty of other people, hoping to catch a glimpse of the tsunami. We didn't see any tsunami waves, but I did catch up with a woman who remembers the last time tsunami waves crashed onto Oregon shores. That was back in 1964.
Almost like filling up a bathtub really fast, or a bucket just coming up real fast. And it was just awesome to a child.
Ullman says she was about 10 when the tsunami hit in 1964.
When you were out there, did it seem like communities on the coast were prepared for the threat of a tsunami?
Absolutely. When we arrived, emergency crews were already implementing an emergency plan. That plan included reverse 911 calls to people, sirens, and multiple evacuation spots for residents around Florence. Shelley, back to you.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Beth. We sure do appreciate your coverage now and earlier this morning when we were doing our live coverage. Well, we'll check this out. This video was taken sometime between 7:15 and 7:25 in the Charleston Marina. In the background, you see a sudden swell of water rolling in. One man we talked to said that there were whitecaps fairly far into the bay that you don't ordinarily see. You'll also see a shot of Coast Guard helicopters patrolling in the distance. Maybe you can't see that, but cars line the roads just to check things out. As Beth told us earlier this morning, police did, however, block off roads that allowed any beach access. The scare began in Japan. The country is still experiencing powerful aftershocks from last night's quake and working to get a handle on the magnitude of the disaster. Randall Pinkston reports from New York.
The massive tsunami crashed onto Japan's northeast coast, swallowing entire villages and swamping dozens of cities. The 23-foot wave swept away cars, boats, homes, and entire buildings. Residents fled to rooftops to escape the water and mud. Japanese police say they've already found as many as 300 bodies in the city of Sendai, but officials are having a hard time getting a handle on the scale of destruction. A magnitude 8.9 earthquake unleashed the devastation shortly before 3 in the afternoon.
The entire floor was shaking, almost like a carnival ride or something like that, only you never knew when it was going to stop.
In downtown Tokyo, large buildings shook and workers poured into the streets. Cameras inside offices and newsrooms captured the moment the quake hit. Even a country used to earthquakes has never experienced anything like this.
This is the 5th largest earthquake to be recorded in the world since 1900 at magnitude 8.9. and the largest in Japan's recorded history.
Tsunami waves of over 4 meters were observed.
Dozens of aftershocks followed. Fires are burning up and down a 1,300-mile stretch of coastline, including this massive blaze at an oil refinery in Ichihara. Japan's defense ministry has sent troops to help in the hard-hit northern part of the country. Train service that usually serves 10 million people a day has been suspended, and airports in Tokyo and northern Japan are closed indefinitely. Randall Pinkston, CBS News.
Now, Hawaii also felt the effect of the tsunami as waves were sweeping through the island chain. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center said Kauai was the first of the Hawaiian islands hit by the tsunami. Water also rushed ashore in Honolulu, swamping the beach at Waikiki and surging over the breakwall in the world-famous resort, but stopping short of the area's high-rise hotels. Waves at least 3 feet high were recorded on Oahu and Kauai, and officials warned that the waves would continue and could become larger. Roadways and beaches were empty as the tsunami struck the state, which had hours to prepare. The tsunami wave height in Southern California could hit 3 feet, and the ocean surge may last as long as 10 hours. Santa Monica authorities are shutting down the beaches, harbors, and piers, but people are still showing up to see what the tsunami triggered. And some surfers are trying to take advantage of the bigger waves, but experts say that's a bad idea. In many beach communities and low-lying areas, people have been urged to evacuate. So what should you do in case of a tsunami? Well, the Red Cross lists these tips to keep you and your family safe. First, plan an evacuation route from your home, your school, your workplace, or any other place you'll be when tsunamis present a risk. If possible, choose an area 100 feet above sea level or go up to 2 miles inland away from the coastline. Also, practice your evacuation route. Familiarity may save your life. Be able to follow your escape route at night and during inclement weather. And talk to your insurance agent. Many homeowners' policies do not cover flooding from a tsunami. Finally, discuss tsunamis with your family. Everyone should know what to do in case all family members are not together. Discussing tsunamis ahead of time will help reduce fear and anxiety.